the Iranian leadership that did survive, and there are a few leaders that did survive, the president, as well as Ali Larijani, who's very powerful in Iran, have threatened the U.S. and threatened to attack 27 U.S. bases across the Middle East. And we've been seeing a lot of those missiles flying into neighboring countries. A mob also tried to storm the U.S. embassy in Baghdad, and Pakistani security forces used batons to push back an angry crowd threatening the U.S. consulate in Karachi, Pakistan. Both Iraq and Pakistan, of course, have large Shia Muslim populations. And British Defense Secretary John Healey said 2 missiles had been fired towards Cyprus, where the British Army has service members stationed. In Tehran, following the announcement of the Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei, there were spontaneous outbursts of celebration on the one hand, but also some crowds chanting today in downtown Tehran, "Death to America." Not clear if these were spontaneous or organized protests, but you can assume that the remnants of the regime and the IRGC will want to present a united front, suggesting that the regime will survive. The man to watch is Ali Larijani, the head of Iran's Supreme National Security Council. He just gave an interview in which he described the killing of Ali Khamenei as extremely painful, threatening revenge, quote, "The United States and the Zionists have burned the heart of the Iranian people, and we will burn their hearts." Meantime, Iran managed to fire more than 300 missiles at the UAE, where the U.S. has a military base at Al Dhafra, about the same number as it fired toward Israel. Actually, about 100 ballistic missiles were fired toward Israel yesterday, according to the IDF. So this was actually more missiles fired at UAE. Iran has expanded its response, even firing missiles at Oman, which tried to negotiate that last-minute nuclear deal and avoid war. Qatar received about 65 Iranian missiles since yesterday, and Bahrain approximately 35. And explosions have been heard in eastern Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, today. Israel, meantime, has increased its airstrikes and says it will now.
So basically, Iran is they're just firing missiles at everyone. Bahrain, Qatar. I heard they even fired Dubai. So planning that Dubai trip, I would suggest that you do not take a trip over there right now. Tensions are high. U.S. we took out Iran Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei. Many of his top Iranian leaders, military generals are dead. And I don't think it's going to stop yet. I know they want to do a ceasefire, but at the same time, joint forces, U.S. and Israel, have been firing at certain military bases in Iran right now. So it's heating up.
Target Iran's nuclear facilities, and just moments ago hit the headquarters of the IRGC and barracks in Tehran. That is where the massacre of last month's Iranian protesters was organized and carried out. Smoke has been seen rising from near Iran's state broadcasting facility in Tehran. And in terms of the U.S. operation yesterday, the U.S. military, we learned, carried out 900 strikes in 12 hours. 10 to 15 senior leaders of the Iranian government and military were killed in that Israeli strike on Ali Khamenei's compound. Multiple sources tell me that the start of the operation, the joint operation, had to be moved up based on intelligence and this target of opportunity, a meeting at Khamenei's compound. Quote, "There was a deliberate decision to accelerate the timeline. That is why the U.S. and Israel took the unusual decision to strike during the daytime to achieve the element of surprise and to target this meeting. Normally, the U.S. military would not launch an operation like this during the day. The meeting accelerated the timeline, I'm told. This was a massive, wildly bold daytime attack," a senior U.S. defense official told me. It caught the senior leadership off guard and on a Saturday morning during Ramadan and on Shabbat in the daytime. We hit the senior leaders right out of the gate, I was told. But some survived, including, as I mentioned, Ali Larijani, the man to watch, and Iran's president, who issued a statement just moments ago. Griff?
So Iran president did survive. The supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, he's dead. And I think this is going to affect the stock market come Monday Monday morning. I think the stock market is down right now as well, but just the whole tension around the world. So, I don't normally give advice on what you should do, but normally in a downturn, it's always good to buy stocks at the cheapest price. But it's a lot of tensions going right now. I'm hearing a lot of the Iranian people, they're celebrating across the world, in the U.S., everywhere. Everybody's celebrating, and I'm seeing more celebrations than people are upset. This leader, I heard he was very brutal. Just in December 2025, I'm hearing he possibly killed up to about 35,000 people. They're not sure what that real number is, but they're saying it's possible. And these are his oppositions, protesters, whoever. He was just executing people. So the tension between U.S., Israel, and Iran has been going on for a very long time.
Yeah, and Jennifer, you mentioned what we're watching, what Larijani will do now. And, I think we've focused so much on the IRGC, but would Larijani possibly try and go after or try to activate the Besiege? People haven't talked much about the Besiege, and it's important to understand that is a strong militia that could be sympathetic to the IRGC within Iran.
Absolutely. The Basij are like the internal police, this state police that are really very vicious and were responsible for a lot of the killing of the.
And as she said, that this Basij, this military police, they're responsible for many killings. So anytime you want to quell the crowd or take out certain people that's causing an uprising, they would get this Basij military police. They would come in and they would basically execute any opposition. I think recently, before Trump spoke and told them if anyone's hurt, they were set to execute another 1,000 people, and they're pretty brutal. There's no it's not like America. That country is different.
32,000 protesters who were killed in December and January in Iran. The Basij are still a factor. Remember, we've talked about this in the past, but in the early days of the Iraq War, a lot of those security forces just took off their uniforms and floated away, and then reorganized and came back and began carrying out terror attacks. Now, the difference this time is the U.S. will not be occupying Iran. They don't have ground forces that are going in, so there won't be any targets inside Iran. But those Basij and the paranoia that's been created over decades of theocracy and state control and authoritarianism in Iran is going to make it may be one of the reasons you're not seeing people come out quite in the large numbers that you might expect after such strikes on their behalf. But I think people are scared, and they have a right to be scared that they were slaughtered in the last 2 months. So what you're also likely to see, Griff, is the IRGC launch through proxies, through sleeper cells around the world, targets of opportunity. They tend to fight asymmetrically with terror attacks, and that is what I would expect to see: assassinations, terror attacks, but it won't happen immediately. It'll be when we let down our guard, and I think the strategy right now.
And this is why it's very critical, for this very reason, why we need secure borders. Because imagine if you have 3 or 4 sleeper cells enter the United States through the border. And that's why I always say, you got some of these naive people, they're thinking everyone's coming with gifts and cookies, and everybody's not coming with milk and cookies and just, everybody come on in. We have no borders and nobody owns the land and blah, blah, blah. What I'm saying is that you have to secure, you have to vet, you have to where are these people coming from? What countries? You know what I mean? It's a vetting process. It's not everyone want the process to be so fast and easy, but it doesn't work like that. If you have millions of people applying, you don't have enough staff to make the process a lot faster. And you have to look for certain things. People are going to get denied, and it's okay. But to make sure we don't have another attack, another 9/11, or, you know, just an attack, period, we have to vet who's coming into the country. Imagine right now if you have certain, you know, like people that support Iran and then decide to go ahead and try to, you know, destroy certain U.S. cities or whatever the case may be. We have to know, like, who's coming, who's entering this country. So all you people out there is just like so welcoming. You won't even allow them to come into your own house. So why would you allow strangers to enter this country without having no information? They're able to change their names at the border. You don't know who these people are. So that's why I'm always big for secure borders. And listen, if you're here illegally, listen, you got to go.
From what I am observing is that Iran is firing missiles at all of the states surrounding in the region, all of the states that host U.S. military bases, trying to create so much chaos that there's maybe pressure at the UN or elsewhere calling for a stop to the war. And if they think they can just...
So Iran is, they're not done yet. They're still retaliating. They fired up the 300 missiles and they're still attempting to fight, even with U.S. and Israel firing about 900 missiles and taking out strategic targets. They're still there. I think they probably planned for this. What they didn't plan for is for the supreme leader to be, you know, deceased. But yeah, they're not done. They're not just going to give up. It's going to take a while.
Survive these initial strikes and then regroup. That is their strategy at this point, but I'm not sure it's going to work because it's really mobilized all those strikes on UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia has just mobilized those nations to prepare to engage Iran at this time.